son over here to get you.
My who?
Oh, that old chick I go with. What's her name?
Carol?
Yeah, that's the one. Girl, thank you.
Long before the camera started rolling on Play Misty for me, Clint Eastwood was in search of actors who could deliver the tension and nuance his directorial debut demanded. Instead of holding formal auditions for himself, Eastwood was already attached to the project, and finding the right cast became his top priority. He was deeply involved in every step, determined to maintain creative control and authenticity. For the role of Evelyn Draper, the obsessive fan, Eastwood wanted someone who could shift rapidly from charm to menace. Jessica Walter's audition stood out immediately. Her performance crackled with energy, and producers quickly recognized that she could carry the intense emotional weight of the role. During her chemistry test with Eastwood, the electricity was unmistakable, setting the groundwork for the disturbingly intimate dynamic that would define the film. Donna Mills caught Eastwood's eye for the role of Tobie Williams, Dave's steady girlfriend. While several actresses read for the part, Mills brought a natural warmth that provided the essential contrast to Walter's character. Mills and Eastwood tested scenes together, and her gentle on-screen presence was a perfect fit for the story's quieter moments. For the radio station's DJ role, Don Siegel, Eastwood's mentor and future collaborator, was cast as Murphy. Although Siegel was not a professional actor, Eastwood's trust in Siegel's understanding of atmosphere and timing was crucial. Siegel agreed, giving a relaxed, authentic feel to the studio scenes. Eastwood filled supporting roles with local actors from the Carmel-by-the-Sea area and musicians familiar to audiences, lending a genuine California vibe. Each casting decision was shaped by direct involvement from Eastwood himself, who trusted his instincts during the sessions. Actors recounted how he encouraged improvisation, helping them embody their characters more fully. Even the smallest roles underwent careful selection, as Eastwood's insistence on realism meant that no one felt out of place in the close-knit coastal community where the movie was set. Every major casting moment was marked by mutual respect, and a search for the intensity and naturalism that would make the psychological drama resonate. As a result, the ensemble came together seamlessly, and the chemistry, both on and off the screen, helped to create the film's unforgettable sense of unease and suspense.
I go with. What's her name?
Carol?
Yeah, that's the one. Girl thinks you've been working too hard, man. She said we should get together.
Although Play Misty for me was Clint Eastwood's directorial debut, he approached the project with remarkable assurance, drawing from his years of experience in front of the camera and studying the methods of filmmakers like Don Siegel. Eastwood was influenced by the tight, efficient style of classic thrillers and wanted to maintain a sense of realism throughout the movie. He chose to shoot on location in Carmel, California, instead of using studio sets. This not only grounded the story in a real place, but also created a natural, atmospheric tone that made the suspense more intense. Eastwood favored long takes and minimal cutting, which allowed the tension to build naturally between the characters. He kept the camera work simple but deliberate, which added to the feeling of intimacy and claustrophobia as the plot thickened. Next, Eastwood put a lot of focus on working closely with Jessica Walter, who played the obsessed fan. He created a safe and open space for her to explore her character's vulnerability and volatility, encouraging her to push the boundaries without fear of judgment. Eastwood, also starring as Dave Garver, would often rehearse scenes with Walter to get a sense of rhythm and emotional truth before rolling the camera. He believed that the performances should come first, and he gave his cast freedom to improvise dialogue or tweak their delivery if it felt more natural. Eastwood's calm demeanor and respect for his team made collaboration smooth, especially since he avoided yelling or micromanaging. He trusted his crew, many of whom he brought over from his previous projects, and relied on their expertise, particularly when it came to shots that balanced suspense with moments of quiet reflection. Meanwhile, the use of music in Play Misty for me was another directorial signature. Eastwood, a lifelong jazz fan, infused the movie with a sense of atmosphere through jazz standards and live performances, including scenes filmed at the Monterey Jazz Festival. The music situates Dave's world as both sophisticated and accessible, while also underscoring the threat as the tone shifts from relaxed to chilling. Through thoughtful camera angles, effective lighting, and a strong sense of place, Eastwood blurred the line between comfort and danger, creating a thriller that felt personal and immediate. His directorial vision combined subtle psychological storytelling with an appreciation for authenticity, letting the fear build through character rather than spectacle.
Here's your key. Here's your copy.
Released in 1971, Play Misty for Me is a suspenseful thriller directed by Clint Eastwood, who also stars in the film. It tells the story of a radio DJ who gets caught up in a dangerous relationship with an obsessed fan. The movie stands out as Eastwood's directorial debut, and is known for its tense storytelling and dramatic twists. Audiences have long been drawn to its mix of romance, suspense, and moments of genuine shock. There's a lot more than meets the eye, though. Coming up are some funny, sad, and surprising behind-the-scenes facts, so stay tuned if you want to learn more about what makes this movie so memorable. Do you have a cherished memory associated with Play Misty for Me? Was it the first time you saw Eastwood in a new role, or did a certain scene stick with you for years? Are there any lesser-known facts or stories about the film that fascinate you, like the real-life locations in Carmel, or perhaps the way Jessica Walter prepared for her intense role? Hear about your most cherished personal memories or experiences tied to this movie. Please share your stories in the comments below.
She's waiting for some. You sure?
Meanwhile, on the set of Play Misty for Me, Clint Eastwood worked on his first feature as director, aiming for a realistic and inviting atmosphere. Production took over the small, foggy town of Carmel by the Sea in California, which gave the film its moody, coastal charm. The narrow, winding streets and dramatic cliffs added tension and beauty to every scene. Many locations were real, such as the famous Sardine Factory bar in Monterey, giving the movie a lived-in and authentic feel. With most filming done in actual locations instead of controlled studio sets, the crew had to face constant battles with unpredictable weather, thick fog rolling in, and the sound of crashing waves. Beach scenes with Jessica Walter and Clint Eastwood benefited from natural lighting, but required agility since clouds and sunlight shifted often, forcing last-minute script tweaks and reshoots to maintain continuity. For set design, the production team used local decor to furnish Dave Garver's cliffside home, filling it with bright paintings, records, and plant life that hinted at the relaxed lifestyle of a late-night radio DJ. The main house itself belonged to a friend of Eastwood, who allowed the crew to rearrange and customize interiors as needed, further helping the film blend into real life. To capture the suspense, cinematographer Bruce Surtees experimented with handheld cameras, especially during tense or unstable moments, letting the audience experience Evelyn's growing obsession up close. Sound recording proved tricky with waves and wind interfering, so the crew used new, portable audio equipment for clarity, often revisiting scenes after dark when the town quieted down. Because the movie was filmed mostly outside traditional studio systems, Eastwood and his team had more freedom to try fresh ideas, but also had to solve problems on the fly, sometimes relying on longtime friends in the area for props, cars, or places to store gear. Scheduling was tight, with only a few weeks to wrap principal photography before the weather turned too harsh, so every department coordinated closely, doing much of their planning on the fly or over cozy local dinners. Instead of costly special effects, Eastwood focused on pacing, timing, and camera movement, like long tracking shots along the cliffs or slow zooms into quiet rooms, making ordinary settings feel dangerous. With a slim budget and a small crew, they relied on innovation, using natural light, quick set changes, and local locations to stretch every dollar and every moment on screen.
Careful now.
Set against the moody backdrop of Carmel in the early 70s, Play Misty for Me marks Clint Eastwood's ambitious move from acting into the director's chair, a leap that many at the time doubted he could manage. Some see Eastwood's direction as effortless, guiding the story with an early confidence and a sleek style that would later become his signature. The film centers on Dave Garver, a radio DJ whose bachelor lifestyle is stylish and attractive, yet soon upended by the obsessive attentions of Evelyn, played by Jessica Walter, in a performance many describe as both arresting and disturbingly believable. Walter brings Evelyn to life not by relying on glamour, but by crafting a character whose desperation and emotional intensity make her simultaneously sympathetic and chilling. For some viewers, her portrayal resonates strongly, perhaps because it mirrors real-life experiences with obsessive or unstable relationships, capturing an authenticity that is rarely seen. Moving through the film, the interplay between the innocent one-night romance and the gradual unraveling of Evelyn's obsession keeps the tension tight. While Eastwood's own acting as Dave may not be the most vulnerable, His understated delivery gives space for Walter's character to dominate, reflecting how a seemingly minor personal lapse can spiral into chaos. Meanwhile, Donna Mills, as Dave's old flame Tobie, adds brightness and contrast, though some believe her role is less fleshed out, serving mostly as a counterpoint to Evelyn's intensity. However, for others, the simplicity of Tobie's character throws the complex danger of Evelyn into sharper relief. Despite its age, many find the film's themes resonate, especially the way it explores obsession, desire, and the mistaken meanings we project onto relationships. There is a certain suspense in the way Eastwood stages scenes, letting everyday moments, like a phone call or a song request, gather menace as Evelyn's delusions take hold. That grounding in real emotion, balanced by a tightly winding plot, is what draws both admiration and critique. Some audiences connect deeply with its grounded, almost matter-of-fact depiction of psychological unraveling, while others note that the methods, by today's standards, are less subtle and lack the nuanced shading of modern thrillers. Additionally, sharp observers find plenty in the film's production values to praise, from the smooth cinematography to the rich music soundtrack, which becomes a haunting refrain throughout. Cameo appearances from figures like Don Siegel give the film a layer of movie history, suggesting a passing of the torch from one tough guy legacy to another. For all the acclaim, however, detractors argue the film can get bogged down in its genre conventions, with characters sometimes feeling like types rather than fully developed personalities. Nevertheless, a recurring highlight in most reviews is Jessica Walter's performance, widely viewed as one of the early, definitive portrayals of a female stalker in cinema, long before the template became familiar. The pulp energy of Play Misty for me is obvious, but the messy unpredictability of human emotion keeps it suspenseful and engaging, making the movie more than just a showcase for Eastwood's new directing skills.
Solid silicone. Hi-ho, David, my man. How you been, baby?
Interestingly, the music in Play Misty for me plays a powerful role in telling the story and shaping its atmosphere. Clint Eastwood, who directed the movie, had a deep knowledge of jazz, which influenced the score's direction. The story centers around a late-night radio DJ in coastal California whose life spins out of control after an obsession with a caller. The choice of songs and instrumental pieces supports the film's tension and drama at every turn. The jazz standard Misty is woven into the plot. It's the song the obsessed fan requests again and again, which makes the tune feel sweet yet haunting as the suspense builds. This repeated use of Misty links the mood of the film with the character's emotional journey, allowing music to trigger both warmth and dread as the story unfolds. The soundtrack also embraces cool jazz numbers, which are fitting for the coastal Northern California setting and the relaxed yet dangerous lifestyle of Dave. The DJ, D. Barton, who wrote the score, worked closely with Eastwood to match the film's mood, choosing simple piano and soft jazz arrangements that slowly grow darker and more tense as the film becomes more disturbing. Barton's approach used moments of silence, letting the familiar hum of the radio or the sound of the ocean become as important as the music itself, which heightens suspense and makes the audience pay attention. Musicians like Johnny Otis and Errol Garner, the composer of Misty, added a real jazz touch, making the atmosphere genuine and relatable for audiences who enjoyed that era's music. Additionally, the use of local musicians helped ground the film in its place and time, reflecting the community around Monterey and Carmel. The score doesn't command attention. Instead, it works behind the scenes, shaping the emotional tone, guiding how viewers feel without them always noticing. By using jazz as both a comfort and a warning, the music mirrors the main character's shifting emotions from the thrill of admiration to creeping fear. Without overwhelming the film, the careful blend of jazz, pop, and silence makes Play Misty for me a standout for its soundtrack as much as its suspense, leaving a memorable mark on viewers long after the credits roll.
Surprise. What happens if he and I had been talking business? Or maybe I have female company or something.
Looking out over the ocean from the deck of a house on Spindrift Road in Carmel, California, the early scenes are set with Dave standing in a location that seems private and peaceful. This home sits at 157 Spindrift Road, just feet away from another property that would later be used for Catherine Trammell's home in another film, Basic Instinct, at 162 Spindrift Road. The connection between these neighbors on screen links two famous movies through a stretch of California coastline used for its dramatic ocean backdrop. and its sense of isolation. As the story picks up speed, a scene takes place around the 16-minute mark where Al stops by Dave's home. During their conversation, Evelyn arrives unexpectedly, giving the moment an uneasy feeling. Al makes a casual remark about Chicken Delight, a takeout and delivery restaurant chain that was well known in the early 1970s. Their catchy slogan, "Don't cook tonight, call Chicken Delight," was a familiar phrase at the time, and its mention sets the cultural tone of the era. The careful choice of these locations and products highlights not only the movie's setting, but also the time period, reflecting both the quiet beauty of Carmel and the everyday routines of people during those years. These details blend the suspense of the story with real places and popular culture, allowing viewers to recognize both familiar and unsettling elements as the plot moves forward.
Stop it, you son of a bitch! You're hurting me! Stop it, you dirty bastard!
Suddenly, the film shifts from calm to tense during the late-night phone calls when Evelyn, played by Jessica Walter, calls Dave, the DJ character played by Clint Eastwood. The dark room, washed in blue light, and the isolating camera angles make these scenes so memorable. Eastwood, who also directed the film, used shadows and slow camera pans to show Dave's unease as the cheerful tone of Evelyn's voice becomes more disturbing. Walter's performance, especially in these moments, grabs the audience, switching from charm to menace in a single breath. Many critics and filmmakers have pointed to the way Eastwood uses silence between words, allowing the tension to build and the audience to feel Dave's growing fear. One key sequence that stands out is the bar fight in the dimly lit lounge. Handheld camera movements create a sense of chaos, as the jazz soundtrack is abruptly drowned out by rushing footsteps and shouts. Eastwood said in interviews that he wanted the audience to experience how quickly a normal night can turn. Jessica Walter mentioned that her approach in moments like this was to be unpredictable, making her character's moods hard to read. Later, the peaceful scene with Dave and Tobie on the coastal cliffs shows a different side. The slow, sweeping shots of the landscape briefly promise relief, but the audience remembers Evelyn could return at any moment. Eastwood, reflecting on this, said he wanted the setting to be beautiful and dangerous, like Evelyn herself. The final showdown at Dave's house is unforgettable. Broken glass, sharp cuts between tight shots on Walter's wild eyes, and the crash of music keep viewers on edge. Film scholars have noted how the editing goes faster and closer, trapping the audience in Dave's panic. Walter's scream and Eastwood's restrained fear let the audience feel the stakes without any need for special effects. Both actors have later talked about shooting that scene, saying it was exhausting but rewarding, with Walter remarking that her goal was to make people unsure what she'd do next. The film's mix of natural lighting, intimate close-ups, and sudden violence created a blueprint for modern thrillers, inspiring a wave of obsessive stalker stories because viewers could sense both the terror and fascination in every frame. Once someone receives recognition as a director with awards for both directing and Best Picture, but never acting, their name often comes up in popular culture, including a mention in a country hit that climbed the charts in 1984. Before gaining fame, there was a period when he worked for the U.S. Army as a lifeguard and projectionist, showing training films at a California base. During his time at the base, stories circulated from people who knew him, suggesting he may have avoided deployment through his social skills, particularly by forming a connection with the daughter of an officer. Decades later, these details still shape the public's view, showing how pivotal early experiences and reputation can be, both in careers and in forming the cultural memory of a public figure whose life blends military service, entertainment, and music references. Play Misty for Me struck a strong chord in 1971 by exploring themes many viewers found both thrilling and unsettling. The movie delved into obsession and the dangers of casual relationships, bringing to light issues of emotional instability and controlling behavior that weren't often discussed openly at the time. This candid depiction of a woman's dangerous fixation challenged audiences to think differently about vulnerability and mental health. Additionally, the film influenced pop culture by inspiring a wave of psychological thrillers that examined dark human emotions in more depth. It helped create a template for stories about ordinary people caught in extreme emotional situations, which soon appeared in books, movies, and TV shows. The portrayal of the stalker character also opened discussions on the potential risks of romantic encounters and personal boundaries, a conversation that has only grown in relevance today. Furthermore, its use of jazz music and atmospheric tension set a mood that influenced the style of suspense films that followed. People often found themselves reflecting on the complexity of relationships and the fine line between love and fear after watching this movie, making it a cultural touchstone beyond just entertainment.
I have a lunch date. Business.
Business.
Yeah, can I have my car keys?
Before landing significant roles, Clint Eastwood once spent hours sitting on a stool at Schwab's drugstore, hoping to be noticed like Lana Turner. His early career was marked by such moments of waiting and patience. Years later, he caught attention for a tough, action-oriented role in a film about a Vietnam veteran, a part he almost played before Sylvester Stallone took it. Interestingly, the film also considered casting Flip Wilson for a key character, Monte, which did not come to pass. These facts highlight how casting choices and career paths can shift dramatically in Hollywood. Eastwood's journey from waiting at a drugstore to becoming a major star and a director shows how unpredictable the entertainment industry can be.
Draper? Care for a drink?
Okay.
What'll it be?
Interestingly, Play Misty for Me made waves upon its release in 1971, stirring critics and audiences with Clint Eastwood's first turn as both star and director. At the time, reviewers praised Eastwood's handling of suspense, often noting how his calm demeanor contrasted sharply with Jessica Walter's intense performance as Evelyn Draper, which brought forth a chilling sense of obsession and danger. Roger Ebert applauded the film for its unnerving edge, highlighting the way Eastwood built tension using ordinary environments like small-town bars and beach houses, rather than relying solely on shocking violence. Jessica Walter's performance, in particular, was singled out for adding real weight and complexity to the story, earning her a Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Audiences were both thrilled and unsettled by the movie's realistic depiction of stalking, a topic less often explored in cinema at that point, and the film's steady box office intake showed it resonated beyond the critics' circles. While Play Misty for Me did not gather a trove of major awards, its impact was significant, positioning Eastwood as a promising new director and confirming Jessica Walter's talents on a bigger stage. For those involved, such strong reception solidified confidence in Eastwood's artistic instincts and helped the cast gain wider appreciation in the industry, especially given how the film's psychological depth set it apart from typical thrillers of its time.
All right, break it up in here. Looks like old...
Suddenly, Clint Eastwood became a familiar presence in both popular culture and Hollywood history. He starred in and directed several memorable films, 5 of which earned nominations for the American Film Institute's list of significant movies. Unforgiven ultimately secured a spot within the top 100, demonstrating Eastwood's increasing recognition over the years. Outside of his film career, his public image also grew. California's leadership acknowledged his achievements by including him in the state's Hall of Fame, displaying his accomplishments alongside a wide range of influential Californians. During the early 1970s, personal stories became part of his legend. One day, while walking through San Francisco with Paulie Lippman, he was confronted on the street by a woman who challenged his reputation as a romantic partner. Caught off guard, Eastwood responded with humor and a bit of bravado, eventually spending the evening with her and facing her final review the next morning. This episode, complete with Lippman's question and the woman's ambiguous hand gesture, was retold as an example of Eastwood's public persona, a mix of directness, confidence, and occasional self-effacing humor.
It's getting late.
After Clint Eastwood agreed to direct Play Misty for Me, the production took on a lively, almost experimental feel, as this was Eastwood's directorial debut, and much of the crew felt they were all in it together. The town of Carmel by the Sea, where filming took place, was filled with curious locals who sometimes wandered onto the set, and there were moments when the line between fiction and reality blurred. Locals would greet Eastwood as if he really was Steve Garver, the radio DJ he played. Actress Jessica Walter, playing the obsessive Evelyn Draper, drew on real tension, admitting in later interviews that the intensity of her scenes was charged by a sense of unpredictability, as many of her most dramatic moments were filmed in one take to capture a raw edge. Despite the psychological horror on screen, The atmosphere among the cast was friendly, and Jessica Walter often joked with Clint to release the tension after particularly harrowing scenes. Even composer Dee Barton got in on the fun, improvising much of the jazz score live, which added spontaneity to the film's mood. Sometimes the fog would roll in unexpectedly, halting shooting for hours, so the cast would sit in the local diner telling stories and reviewing lines, making the wait part of their shared memory. Eastwood's mother, Ruth, played a brief role, often bringing homemade cookies to set, providing a sense of comfort during the more stressful days. One afternoon, a falcon unexpectedly perched on a camera during a cliffside scene, and instead of shooing it away, Clint had the crew quietly film it, later admitting he liked the symbolism. The locals continued to talk about the filming long after production ended, especially after Eastwood became mayor of Carmel years later, often recalling the days when Hollywood had come to their quiet town.
Why don't you keep that stuff? I think I've lost my appetite.
Hang on a minute. I'm just trying to tell you.
During production, the first sequence filmed involved Clint Eastwood's former director, Don Siegel, making a brief appearance as the bartender Murph. Eastwood, known for his dry sense of humor, played a trick on Siegel during the shoot. He made Siegel repeat his lines through 11 takes, only to reveal after the last one that the camera had not even been loaded with film. Moving beyond the set, Eastwood's career includes roles in 3 films that have been named to the National Film Registry, highlighting their cultural and historic value. He has also directed 2 entries found on that list, showing his impact both in front of and behind the camera. Away from the camera, Eastwood's personal life presents a similar complexity. His first wife, Maggie, worked as a secretary in the Bay Area when they met on a blind date in 1953. That same year, Eastwood spent the summer in Seattle and joined a local theater group to impress a woman he was interested in. The relationship led to the birth of his daughter Lori in early 1954, shortly after his marriage to Maggie. These behind-the-scenes stories offer a glimpse into the private character of a public figure, revealing both professional mischief and personal complications.
She could get laid at a lumber camp! Stop it, you son of a bitch! You're...
Consequently, Play Misty for Me carved out a distinctive space for itself in film history by being among the first movies to explore the dangers of obsession in a realistic, psychological thriller format. By steering clear of grand, theatrical villains, and instead focusing on a deeply human yet chillingly unhinged antagonist, it created a sense of intimacy and unease that influenced future stalker thrillers. Its setting in the everyday town of Carmel, its jazz-infused atmosphere, and its almost casual depiction of escalating menace contributed a new kind of tension that later films would imitate. Clint Eastwood, making his directorial debut while also starring in the film, brought an understated control to the storytelling, showing he could deliver suspense without special effects or loud dramatic gestures. Following Play Misty for Me, a stream of thrillers began to examine the private lives of their protagonists, often featuring relentless, unpredictable pursuers who seemed disturbingly plausible. Later works like Fatal Attraction, Single White Female, and even Television Like You highlight echoes of the film structure and emotional pull. While earlier movies hinted at obsession, Play Misty for Me exposed the raw, volatile side of adoration turning into danger, making it a reference point for directors eager to tap into everyday fears. Its blend of romance and psychodrama laid the groundwork for more nuanced characters, and its lo-fi production style reminded future filmmakers that personal terror doesn't require big budgets. Younger directors took inspiration from how effectively the film used music, silence, and physical spaces to build suspense. The movie's legacy is found today wherever stories blur the lines between love and menace, and it remains a touchstone for psychological thrillers that want to peel away the safety of ordinary life and show what's lurking underneath.
See you in the AM.
Universal at one point preferred Lee Remick to play Evelyn, but the role ultimately went to Jessica Walter. Sandra Locke reportedly read for the part, although this detail does not appear in her memoir or interviews, and she has a reputation for omitting significant facts. John Larch, who plays a police detective in the film, had a past as a professional baseball player before switching careers and turning to acting. Clint Eastwood, famous for his Western roles, maintained a personal tradition with his boots. The same boots worn in his television days on Rawhide made a reappearance decades later in Unforgiven. These boots later became part of his own collection and were displayed at the Jean Autry Museum as part of a Sergio Leone exhibit. This continuity marks a symbolic connection across Eastwood's various roles and ties together his history in the Western genre. The mix of casting decisions and behind-the-scenes connections among the people involved offers a glimpse at the movie's place within Hollywood history, connecting actors' personal journeys and broader industry trends.
Windjammer still good?
Yeah, still very good.
Reserve a table in your name. See you then, Mr. Garver.
Great.
Unlike many films from its era, the production included scenes captured directly at the Monterey Jazz Festival, giving its concert moments an authentic atmosphere with live jazz performances taking place during actual festival events. At the heart of the story is a radio disc jockey whose casual relationship escalates into a dangerous situation, showcasing themes of obsession and personal safety. The film is also notable as the directorial debut of Clint Eastwood, who would later earn an honorary César Award in Paris for his wide-ranging career in cinema. Away from the spotlight, Eastwood's family history includes his daughter Lori, who followed a different path as an elementary teacher at a private school. Married since 1979 to Lowell Thomas Tobie Murray III, she lives in Lakewood, Washington, known for its affluence and exclusivity, partly due to properties like the Murray family's expansive holdings. The Murrays, established in the timber industry through Murray Pacific, maintain their influence for over a century. Additionally, Lori and her husband own a second home on a private golf course in La Quinta, California, revealing another side of life away from the film industry. This blending of Hollywood legacy with a quieter, community-oriented existence contrasts sharply with the dramatic tensions portrayed on screen, underlining how those involved with the film have personal stories that extend far beyond their professional roles.
Later time, could you?
This is a later time, pussycat. Paying you back for the day I blew.
Eastwood agreed to act for a lower salary than Coburn, which allowed him to take a leading role that would boost his career. After achieving success in Italy, he returned to direct and star in his first thriller, where he was trusted with full creative control. Universal Pictures gave him authority over the production, and he managed to deliver the finished project ahead of time and under budget, showing efficiency as both actor and director. On screen, Jessica Walter portrays Evelyn, a character whose behavior suggests mental health struggles. Her unpredictable emotions, rapid changes in mood, difficulty forming steady relationships, and impulsive actions align with what is known about borderline personality disorder. Although the film never identifies Evelyn's condition, her actions, sudden anger, deep sadness, attempts to harm herself, and a sense of emptiness fit this diagnosis. The story brings attention to how such untreated psychological struggles can be dangerous, especially when mixed with obsession and unstable relationships. Eastwood's direction remains focused, avoiding melodrama, and instead presenting the psychological tension through restrained performances and careful pacing. The combination of tight production, troubled characters, and suspenseful narrative makes the work notable for its influence on later thrillers and its raw depiction of psychological disturbance in popular film.
I think I've lost my appetite.
Hang on a minute. I'm just trying to tell you something, that's all.
Reflecting on Play Misty for me, many people remember how it introduced a new kind of psychological thriller, where music and suspense blend in unexpected ways. Thinking about Clint Eastwood's debut as a director, viewers might recall the chilling performance from Jessica Walter and how the film captured the tensions of obsession and vulnerability in a small coastal town. Sometimes it's not just the story but the mood, an atmosphere that stick with you. Seeing how radio, jazz, and late-night phone calls became forms of tension and danger. Maybe for you, it was the way the film shifted from romance to fear, making routine life seem edged with threat and possibility. Perhaps watching this movie made you think about the kinds of thrillers you enjoy or changed how you look at stalker stories in film. You might have memories of seeing Play Misty for me in theaters or on late-night TV, sharing it with friends or family, and discussing the surprising twists long after the credits rolled. Now is a great time to share your own stories or thoughts. Did the film strike a chord, or lead you to seek out more movies by Eastwood? Posting your experiences in the comments helps everyone learn more about the impact this film had on movie fans across different generations. If you enjoyed thinking back on this piece of cinema history, hit like, share your story with others, and subscribe to join more conversations about classic films and hidden gems.
Love and kisses, Evelyn. And then it says, if you